tea's not warm anymore. Book you could have read. Having prompts to make me think about things. What is this? Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be doing the stay at home book tag. Before I start though, I do want to say that my husband is playing video games in our living room and I've told him that I'm filming, but he is not a quiet person. So if you hear anything in the background, I'm gonna try to lower the level of the background noise. But if you hear him yelling, laughing, or anything that remotely sounds like a pig squealing, just know that it's him and I did my best, but it is what it is. I am only using books that I already own because if I use just all books in general, it'd be very hard to pick something because I am not a decisive person. So I'm only using books that I currently own in this book tag. Like I said, I'm doing the stay-at-home book tag, which was created by Princess of Paperback, and I am excited to share my picks. So the first is Laying in Bed, a book you could or have read in a day. And my pick is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I have read many books in one day, but I haven't read many books just in one sitting. And this is the most recent book that I've read in a day. And this book kind of follows these two young people, a boy named Connell and a girl named Marianne. Connell's mom works at Marianne's family's estate is what I would call it. I don't really know if it's an estate officially, but it's a huge house. She works there cleaning, and Connell comes over quite a bit and forms sort of a friendship and then blooms into a more romantic relationship with Marianne. But when they're at school together, they both act like they don't know each other, mostly because of Connell and his friends, and everyone kind of sees her as this weird outcast. I don't really view her as being weird at all. I think she's just brutally honest and super intelligent and kind of above all of this minuscule, vain, sort of superficial aspect of high school. And then the book kind of follows them through going to college together, what their relationship, turns into throughout this time, and it is just sort of heartbreaking to read. It's not like, I don't know why I got so emotional about this book and then the show, but it's just, there's a lot in it and it's just a short book. It's just crazy to me that there's so much in this book and it's so short, and I absolutely love it, and I've consumed this really quickly. So that's my first pick. So the next one is Snacking, a guilty pleasure book. And I feel like I will answer this the same way a lot of people answered this, which is, what's there to feel guilty about? If you enjoy something, if something gives you joy or, pleasure, well, what's there to feel guilty about? The same goes with other people. Maybe that's not something I would watch, but if it makes someone feel good, what's the harm there? What's to feel guilty about? The world is hard. Stress, anxiety, and depression probably affect most, if not everyone. It affects me a whole lot, and especially during this time, if you get joy out of something, don't feel guilty about it. The only thing I do slightly feel guilty about, I guess, is just the way these books are produced. Nothing to do with the genre, nothing to do with the stories. It's just that they are smaller books, so they kind of, it's hard to fit them in with the aesthetic of my bookshelves. And the covers are not usually that, pleasing. They're a little outdated, but the books are cheap. That's maybe why they are like this. Also, people who read these genres are used to this kind of production value, so maybe that's what they enjoy. I don't know. But this is my pick. It is Virgin River by Robyn Carr. I had no idea that this was a series. I found the show on Netflix and was obsessed with it. I found it so cozy. My mom came over the holidays and I showed her the show, and she told me that this was a whole series and she loves them and she had so many of them. So she sent me a bunch, and I'm actually really excited to start reading the series. I haven't yet, but like I said, I loved the show. It was super cozy. And this is basically about a woman, a doctor who recently lost her husband and decides to take this job as sort of an assistant doctor in this like remote small town in a forest called Virgin River. She moves there and meets a bunch of characters, and yeah, it's just a super cozy show. So I'm going to read this actually pretty soon. It's more of a sort of winter fall book, just because that's when I read my cozies, but I do want to start this series, so that's my pick. The next is Netflix, a series you want to start, and for me that is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. This is the first book in the series, called The Eye of the World. It is a fantasy series. I've heard amazing things about the author and the series in particular. I know, or at least I think, that there is a show that's going to be made based off of the series, so if it's still happening, I would like to have read at least, you know, a number of the books in the series before I start it, just because I love reading things before I watch them. Anyways, this is my pick. Next series I'm going to start probably after I finish the other fantasy series that I'm reading. So the next one is Deep Clean, a book that has been on your TBR for ages, and for me that is Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. I have a lot of books that are on my TBR that have been there for quite some time, but this has been something that when it first came out, I was like, I gotta read it. I found this at a Goodwill, which was super exciting, but then I still haven't read it. It's basically about two people who kind of are friends and then fall in love, I think, and we follow them through their journey. And I guess to the outside world, it looks like they're perfect, but obviously there are secrets and things that happen in the background, and I think we just follow them on this journey. So this is definitely one of the many. I've been on my TBR for a long time, but it's just something that I'm like, I kind of pick it up and be like, this is the month I'm gonna read this book, and then I don't. So this is my choice. So the next is Animal Crossing, a book you recently bought because of the hype. My most recent one is this one, The Giver of Stars by JoJo Moyes. I think I'm fairly certain that this is the most recent book I bought besides Book of the Month books, because of the hype. And it's very funny because I actually read a book earlier this year called The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek, which is very similar in terms of the story to this one, I think, because they are both about these women who live in rural areas in Kentucky and the South, and Eleanor Roosevelt sets up this traveling library essentially for people to go into these deep rural areas and provide books and education to people. And they both take place in Kentucky, and they both are about a woman who, steps up and does this. And yeah, so it's very funny that I kind of read a book that was very similar in terms of the summary to this book. So I am excited to read. I heard really amazing things about this, so I'm going to read it soon actually, and then I'll be able to compare the two. But yeah, I mean, this is my pick. So the next is Productivity, a book that you learned from or had an impact on you. And for me, that is Just Kids by Patti Smith. I read it when it first came out. I've read it since then. And it's just a book that deeply touched me, because I would read these things and I would be like, wow, I feel or think the same exact way. And I thought I was just, alone in this and isolated. And this just made me feel like there was someone out there that understood, the core of who I am. And yeah, it deeply impacted me. And I think that this is one of the top books that I will always say is one of my favorite books. So that's my pick. So the last tag is FaceTime, a book you are gifted, and this is the most recent book I was gifted, The Tea Dragon Festival by Katie O'Neill. I was graciously gifted this by the publishers Oni Press, and this is a companion novel to The Tea Dragon Society. They are both beautifully illustrated children's books. They're just so heartwarming and charming and lovely. I'm really excited to read this. I'm actually going to be doing a large post on the Tea Dragon Society, this companion novel, and some other things that come along with this series, and I'm really excited to do that. But it's just so beautiful and so cute. But yeah, those are all my picks for this tag. I hope you enjoyed. Maybe you haven't read any of these and now will be inspired to do so. I am having so much fun going through YouTube and looking at other people's picks and putting them on my TBR. So that's that. Those are my picks. I will be doing a huge post on normal people on my blog, kind of doing a comparative study of the TV show and the book, and just how my mind and my heart just connected with that story so much. I'm also going to be doing a post, like I said, on the Tea Dragon Society. That will be on my blog as well. So if you are interested in either of those and want to know more of my thoughts and opinions, stay tuned for that on my blog. But other than that, that's it. Hope you guys have a great day and stay cozy.